The man at table 7 had been watching her for 40 minutes, and she had not once looked at him. That was the first thing that interested Baek Sung-jae. Everybody in that bar had looked at him at least once. People always did. It was not a compliment. It was the way a room checks where the exits are. The woman at the end of the counter had not. She was drinking alone at 2 in the morning in a place on the wrong side of Itoan 1, and she was not doing any of the things people do when they drink alone. She was not on her phone. She was not talking to the girl behind the bar. She was not turning her glass in circles. She was watching the mirror, not her own face, the room behind her. Every few minutes her eyes moved along it, unhurried, the way a person reads a line of text they have gone over before. The door, the corridor to the back, the 2 men in the corner, back to her glass. Nobody in that bar had noticed her. Baek had watched 20-odd people walk past her in 40 minutes. Not one of them had seen anything at all. She was a large woman in an old jumper sitting quietly by herself, and there is a whole way of not looking at a person like that. Most people learn it young and never examine it. At 13 minutes past 2, the door opened and 3 men came in out of the rain. They were loud in the way men are loud when they are not as dangerous as they would like to be. And the biggest of them saw a woman on her own at the end of a bar and made the calculation that men like that have been making since the beginning of the world. He put a hand on the counter on either side of her. Baek's man shifted his weight and reached inside his jacket. Baek lifted one finger off the table, and the man went still. He wanted to see it. What he expected was fear, or a scream, or the flat, frozen politeness that women use when they are working out how to get to a door. What he got was this. The woman set her glass down. She turned her head, and she looked at the man leaning over her, the way a person looks at a photograph they are being asked to identify. Then she said 11 words, quietly, and the man took his hands off the counter and stepped back like she had burnt him. She paid. She left. She did not look back once, and her posture going out of that door was the straightest thing in the room. 2 questions hang over everything after that. What did a woman in an old jumper say to a man twice her size that made him let go in under 4 seconds? And what happens to her when the most careful man in that city decides he is going to find out who she used to be? Stay. It is worth it. Here is what she said. She looked at his right hand first, where it was braced on the counter beside her hip, then at his face, then at the whites of his eyes, and back to the hand. Your right hand has been going numb for about 3 weeks. 11 words. That was all of it. That was the whole thing that made a man built like a door take a step backward in a bar at 13 minutes past 2 in the morning. He said something. It came out wrong. You have been dropping things, she went on, in the same quiet voice, not unkind. Cups. Your phone. You have been telling yourself it is the cold. She tipped her chin very slightly, and it hurts behind that eye. The right one. Worse when you stand up fast. He did not answer. He had gone a color. Go tonight, she said. Not tomorrow. Tell them your hand and your eye, and say the word numbness, and make them look at the vessels in your neck. They will want to send you home. Do not go home. Then she picked up her bag. One of his friends started to say something, and she turned and gave him a look that was not aggressive at all, which was somehow worse. And he closed his mouth. She put a note down beside her glass. She said goodnight to the girl behind the bar by name, and she went out into the rain. At table 7's, Baek Sung-jae sat for a while with his hand flat on the wood. His man came back over. Boss, did you hear her? Some of it. She diagnosed him, Baek said, in a bar, in 4 seconds. Off a hand and an eye. She could have been guessing. He went white. Baek turned his glass a quarter turn, which is a thing men do when they are stalling for thought. You do not go white at a guess. You go white when somebody says out loud the thing you have been not saying to yourself for 3 weeks. He watched the door she had gone out of. Most men in his position would have said find out about her. Some of them would have said bring her to me, and would have believed that was a compliment. What he said was this: find out who took her license. His man paused. You are assuming she had one. She told a stranger to make them look at the vessels in his neck, Bake said. Nobody says it like that unless they have said it 400 times. He stood and reached for his coat. And she is drinking alone at 2 in the morning in a bar where nobody knows her. So somebody took it. Find out who. It took 3 days. Naomi Osei, 37, born in Kumasi, raised in Manchester, in Seoul 8 years, emergency and trauma, consultant grade by 31, which the man reading the file said was fast enough to be worth mentioning twice. Struck off 5 years ago. The written reason was falsification of a clinical record. Bake looked at that line for a long time. That is the reason on paper, he said. Yes, find me the one that is not on paper. She was living in 2 rooms above a dry cleaner in Seoul, Dong. And she came to the door with a towel over one shoulder and did not look surprised to see him, which surprised him. You are the one from table 7, Naomi said. You did not look at me once. I looked at you the whole time. She stood aside from the door. I looked at you in the mirror. You were the only person in that room I could not place, and you had 2 men with you who were not drinking. Come in or do not, but do not stand in my stairwell. He came in. The rooms were small and painfully clean. There was a folding table with a lamp clamped to it, a box of sterile packs under the window, and a stack of medical textbooks with the spines gone soft. He did not sit down. I know what you did, he said. You know what I was struck off for. Those are 2 different sentences. Something moved in her face for the first time. Yes, she said, they are. Bake took out a folded sheet of paper and set it on her table, and did not push it toward her. I am not going to ask you what happened, he said. I am going to ask you one question, and if you tell me to leave, I will leave, and you will not see me again. Naomi waited. Do you know who signed it? She did not answer him that night. She told him to go, and he went. And she stood in her 2 rooms afterward, with her hands flat on the folding table for a long time. Because she did know. 5 years ago, a man had come into her department at 4 in the morning, with 2 entry wounds and a blood pressure that was already lying to her. He was somebody's soldier. Everybody in the room understood that. Naomi opened him up anyway, because that was the job, and she kept him for 9 hours, and at 1 in the afternoon, he was alive. She went home. She slept. When she came back for her next shift, there was a form on her desk. The time on it was wrong. The cause on it was wrong. And there was a space at the bottom for her name. She was told, very reasonably by a very reasonable man, that the family wanted it this way. The hospital wanted it this way. Nobody was hurt by it. And she was making a great deal out of a piece of administration. She did not sign it. 4 months later, she was struck off for the falsification of a clinical record. The record had been falsified. That part was true. It simply had not been falsified by her. He came back on the Thursday, and this time she let him sit down. I have a proposal, Beck said. Say it plainly. I have between 40 and 60 people who cannot walk into a hospital. Some of them work for me. Some of them are their families. He set his hands on his knees. At the moment they see a doctor I pay, I want them to see a doctor who is good. You want me to work off the books. I want to pay you properly to do the thing you are best at. In a room I will build for you with whatever you put on the list. He paused. You will not be able to put it on a license. I am aware of what I am asking. Naomi looked at him for a while. Terms, she said. Go on. I do not sign anything that is not true. She said it flatly. That is the entire reason You can find me in a bar at 2 in the morning. If that is going to be a problem for you, we can stop here. And you can keep the doctor you are paying now. It is not going to be a problem. You say that easily. I say it because I have already had the version of this where the record is convenient, Bake said, and 2 people are dead of it. The room got quiet. Second, Naomi said, if somebody is dying and the only place that can save them is a hospital, they go to the hospital. I will not keep a person in a back room to protect your business. Agreed. Third, I decide when I have reached the end of what I can do, not you. And when I say a thing is beyond me, you do not argue. And you do not put a gun on my table. And you do not look at me a certain way. You say thank you and you drive. Bake did not answer immediately. That one is the real one, he said. Yes, agreed. The room he built her was better than the one she had been struck off from. It took 11 days. She wrote the list. Nothing on it was refused. On the 12th day, a man came in with a hand he had put through a window, and she closed it. And it healed clean, and she went home and did not sleep for a completely different reason than usual. She had not been allowed to be good at anything for 5 years. Bake came by most evenings. He did not hover. He would stand in the doorway with his coat still on and ask her one question about her day, and then listen to the answer for longer than the answer deserved. You could sit down, she said once. You are working. I am labeling a drawer. He sat down. It was the 4th week when she asked the question she had been not asking. Who was the doctor before me? Bake did not look up from the file he was holding. Does it matter? It matters if he is still working. He was quiet for slightly too long. Seoul Kwang-il, he said. Naomi put down what she was holding. She got her coat. She got her bag. She walked past him, out of the room he had built her, down 2 flights of stairs and into the street. She did not say a single word on the way. And Bak Sung-jae, who had not been walked out on by anybody in 11 years, did not follow her. He did not send anyone after either. That was the part she thought about afterward, that he had let her go. She was back on the Monday. Not for him. She wants that understood, and she said so out loud, standing in the doorway with her coat still buttoned. I am not here because you asked. I did not ask. I know. She came in. I am here because of Kang-woo. Bake looked up. Kang-woo was 26, one of his drivers, and had come in twice in the last month with a headache and a low fever, and had gone away twice with something Seo Kwang-il had written on a slip. What about him? He has been seen twice, and neither visit is in his file, Naomi said. There is a note. The note has a time on it, 4:30 exactly. She set a photocopy on the desk. Nobody arrives at 4:30 exactly. People arrive at 23 minutes past and 41 minutes past. Around time means somebody wrote it afterward, from memory, in one sitting. You are saying he made it up. I am saying he wrote 3 visits at the same desk on the same afternoon and put tidy times on all of them. She looked at him. I have seen that handwriting before, on a form with my name printed under it. If that got you, tell me in the comments where you are watching from. Now let me tell you what she found in the other 8. She went back 4 years. It took her 9 nights, and it was not clever work. It was the kind of work nobody wants to do, which is why nobody had done it. She pulled every record Seo Kwang-il had written for Bake's people, and she put the arrival times in a column, and she looked at the column. 11 of them ended in a 0 or a 5. 2 of the 11 were men who had died. Neither of those 2 had died of what the record said. She did not report him. Not first. She asked to meet him, and she asked for it to be in a room with a table. And Bake arranged it, and then did the hardest thing he had done in some years, which was to stay outside it. Seo Kwang-il came in at 10 in the morning with rimless glasses and an open white coat, and a smile that arrived exactly when a smile should. Dr. Osi. He sat without being asked. I did wonder. You knew I was here. I know most things. He folded his hands. May I say, before anything else, that I have always thought what happened to you was a tragedy. You wrote it. I signed a document. You wrote it, Naomi said. And then you signed it. And then you sat in a hearing and let a room full of people believe that the handwriting was mine. Seo did not deny it. That was the thing about him. He had never once, in 20 years, wasted energy denying a thing that was already known in the room. You are angry, he said. That is reasonable. I am not angry. She set the first folder on the table. I am organized. She did not raise her voice once. She laid out 3 records with round arrival times. Then a printed column of every time he had written in 4 years, with the 0s and 5s marked. Then the 2 men who had died, and what the record said, and what the medication list underneath it said, which were not compatible with each other. Then a laboratory slip he had not known existed, because Beck had sent a sample out under a name that was not connected to anything. Seo looked at the slip for a long time. You did not kill anybody, Naomi said. I want to be accurate about that, because being accurate is the whole argument. You never killed anyone. You just kept signing the version that was easier. She squared the papers 11 times. I counted, Dr. Osi, and twice the easier version meant a man was sent home who should have been kept. The smile had gone somewhere. What was underneath it was not frightening. It was smaller than that. It was a tired man in an expensive suit doing arithmetic. What do you want? Seo said. And here is the part she had rehearsed for 5 years without knowing she was rehearsing it. I want you to understand that I am not trading. Everybody trades. I know. That is why it worked the first time. Naomi sat back. You are about to offer me my license. You have people. You could probably do it. You are going to say that a hearing could be reopened, that there is new information, that these things happen, and that if certain papers did not go to certain places, then in 18 months I could be operating again. Seo Kwang-il said nothing, which was an answer. The last time a reasonable man sat across a table from me and explained why one signature was not really very much, Naomi said. I said no, and it cost me everything I had. So I have had 5 years to find out whether I would say it again. She stood up. I would, she said, every time. That is the only thing I still own. The files went to the medical board and to the prosecutor's office on the same afternoon, complete, with the laboratory slip and the column of times and a statement in her handwriting that she had signed, because it was true. Nobody laid a hand on Seo Kwang-il. Nobody needed to. He was a man whose entire life was built out of his own signature, and 11 of them had just been laid on a table in order. Baek went through the copy she gave him and set it down. You did not need me for any of this. I needed one thing from you, Naomi said. You put it in front of people who would read it. That is not nothing, but I wrote it. Yes, he said. You did. The board took 4 months. The finding, when it came, did not restore her license. It reopened her case, which is a smaller and slower and much duller thing, and it will take another year, and it may not go her way even then. She was fine about it. That surprised people. You do not seem disappointed, Baek said. I did not do it to get the license back. Then why? Naomi thought about how to say it. Because for 5 years, the official version of me was a woman who falsified a record, she said. That version is now in a filing cabinet with a question mark on it. It is not gone. But somebody has to look at the question mark now before they can say the sentence. She shrugged. That is what I wanted, not the certificate. The question mark. Before you go, here is what I want to know. Have you ever been punished for refusing to sign something? Tell me down below. On a Tuesday in November, At 13 minutes past 2 in the morning, Naomi Osi was drinking alone at the end of a bar on the wrong side of a Taewon. Same stool. Same girl behind the bar, who now put the glass down without being asked. She was watching the mirror because she has done that since she was 24 and will do it until she dies. At table 7, a man she could not place with 2 men who were not drinking, except she could place him. She had been able to place him for 6 months. Naomi finished her drink. She set it down. Then she turned around on the stool, which she had never once done, and she looked straight across that room at him. And she reached over and put her hand flat on the empty stool beside her, twice. "You have been sitting at that table for 6 months, she said, in a voice that carried perfectly well in a quiet bar. "Come and sit down."